While I was stuck in a hospital bed with a broken leg after a car accident, my boyfriend was busy posting party photos with his ex, captioned, "Finally free from the clingy drama and her endless demands." We'd been together 4 years. I didn't comment. I didn't react. But this morning my phone blew up with messages, including one from his mom, begging me to give him another chance. So here's the full story. I'd been dating Richard for 4 years, and calling it a journey is generous. Imagine signing up for a group hike, only for the guide to ditch you halfway up the mountain. And somehow, you're the one carrying everyone's bags. That kind of journey. We met while volunteering at a community garden my company sponsored. I got assigned to the compost team. Richard was the self-proclaimed compost king. I know, red flags already. But he had this whole thing about how breaking down is just the beginning of transformation. And my plant-loving heart thought, wow, what a deep metaphor. Spoiler, the only thing that broke down was my self-worth. Let's do a quick recap of those 4 years. He helped with rent exactly 7 times. My name was the only one on the lease because his credit was in repair. He was between jobs. A lot. When he did have money, it went to video games, clothes, or nights out with his friends. He asked to borrow my car more often than he asked how I was doing. But I loved him. So I made excuses. I told myself he was just figuring things out. He had potential. You know, all the stuff we tell ourselves when we're dating a grown man who acts like a teenager. Then, last week, I got into a bad car accident. Someone ran a red light and hit my car from the side. The result? A broken leg, 3 fractured ribs, and a concussion. The doctors said I was lucky. Honestly, it didn't feel that way. Richard visited the hospital once, for 20 minutes. He said hospitals made him anxious, and he needed space to process the trauma. Mind you, I was the one in the hospital bed, not him. You know who did show up? My best friend Anastasia. She stayed with me 3 nights in one of those awful hospital chairs. She helped me get up, brought me actual food, and even washed my hair in that tiny sink when I couldn't stand. That's real friendship. Then one afternoon, while I was still hazy on pain meds, Anastasia suddenly looked uneasy scrolling through her phone. I asked her what was wrong. She tried to brush it off, but I knew something was up. I grabbed her phone. Probably rude, but pain meds make me bold. And there it was, a photo of Richard at a party, arm around his ex, smiling. Captioned, "Finally free." I froze. 4 years of emotional support, financial help, tolerating his endless growth phases, cleaning up after him, and that's how he thanks me. And the comments. "Oh, you look happy, bro. You deserve better." Not a single person said, "Isn't your girlfriend in the hospital?" I didn't reply. I didn't call. I just remembered something important. My name was the only one on the lease, so I got to work. I called my landlord. I explained everything. I called my brother. I called my cousin. I made a plan. While I stayed at Anastasia's to recover, Richard had stopped by the apartment a few times to grab stuff, totally unaware of what was coming. Yesterday, phase 1 began. My brother and 2 of his co-workers helped me pack every single one of Richard's things. Crusty socks, gaming consoles, limited edition controllers, Funko Pops, his precious craft beer collection, signed baseball cards, all of it. And we dumped it in the trash behind the building. Not the recycling bin, the dumpster, where it belonged. Harsh? Maybe. But the man hadn't paid rent in 3 months. I was hiding the landlord's notices because I was too embarrassed. I'd been taking on extra freelance jobs to cover for him while he claimed he was networking. Oh, and while I was in the hospital, guess what he was really doing? He went to an interview for a job my connections helped him get. A job he was supposed to start next week. Was supposed to. Let's just say, the hiring manager used to be my college roommate. My roommate's brother happens to work in HR. And let's just say, once he received some enlightening details about Richard's financial history, along with screenshots of those finally free party posts, things moved quickly. That job Richard was supposed to start? It vanished faster than his commitment ever did. Then, bright and early this morning, my phone exploded with texts from him. "Where's my stuff? Are you serious right now? You can't do this to me. Everything I own was in that apartment. My collectibles are worth thousands. You'll regret this." And then, like clockwork, the tone shifted. "Please. I'm sorry. I was drunk. Katie didn't mean anything. I was just overwhelmed. Please call me. I love you. You're the only one I want. We can fix this." But the real plot twist, his mom. Now, Richard's mother has always acted like I was the lucky one in the relationship, like her son was some kind of prize. This time she called me in tears. begging me to reconsider what I'd done. According to her, he made a mistake. But does that really justify destroying his life? Oh, and she brought up the job situation, saying that was beyond cruel. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But I spent 4 years supporting someone who couldn't even visit me more than once in the hospital, someone who posted about feeling free while I was relearning how to walk. So no, I'm not losing sleep over it. The lease is up next month. I'm not renewing. I'll be staying with Anastasia until I find a new place. One without a couch that reminds me of Richard gaming while I paid the bills and washed his laundry. And no, I don't regret a single thing. In case you're wondering about legal consequences, my cousin, who's a lawyer, already confirmed that since Richard's name wasn't on the lease and he never contributed financially, he has no standing. I've documented everything. Oh, and I'm healing. 6 more weeks in this cast, but my ribs are already better, thanks to everyone asking. Why did I stay so long? Because love can cloud judgment. He wasn't always like this. The good moments felt real, and they tricked me into thinking the bad ones were just temporary. Classic mistake. But here we are. As for updates, well, I've received 43 calls from his mom in less than 2 days. And I finally answered number 44 because honestly, I was tired of the buzzing. Picture this. Me, propped up in Anastasia's guest bed, leg elevated on a stack of pillows, eating sour cream and onion chips for breakfast while listening to Richard's mother bounce between guilt-tripping and lightly threatening me for 28 minutes. Straight. Here's the highlight reel. Richard's been crying for 2 days straight. Funny, so was I. Alone in a hospital bed while he was at a party. Those collectibles were worth so much. Some of them were from his grandfather. Cool. Do you know how much 4 years of rent cost, Deborah? Because I do. He was planning to propose. He showed me the ring. Unless the ring was made of unpaid bills and dashed promises, I seriously doubt it. We could press charges. Sure, except we can't. And I've got that confirmed in writing. And the real kicker? She said I had been controlling his finances and isolating him from friends and family. I laughed so hard I nearly popped a stitch. Me? The woman who once watched him blow our grocery money on a limited edition keyboard? The same person who loaned him $3,000 for a business idea that turned into crypto vapor? The one who planned all his birthdays, bought her Christmas gifts, and drove him to events after his car got towed? So I asked her calmly, Deborah, when was the last time Richard paid rent? There was a pause. Then she said, he told me you had an arrangement. You handled household bills, and he covered other expenses. Which expenses exactly? I asked. Silence. I'm not involved in your financial arrangements, she said at last. So I broke it down for her. 4 years. Rent, utilities, groceries, medical bills, everything. And that's when I told her the number. The amount of debt I'd accumulated making sure we stayed afloat while he networked. So, back to that phone call with Richard's mom. When I told her about covering his share of our expenses for years, about working weekends while he networked, and played video games, about the time I sold my grandmother's jewelry just to make rent because he swore money was coming that never came. You could practically hear the cracks forming in her worldview. But he said he was supporting you, she stammered. He told me you lost your job and he's been carrying you. That was a moment. I haven't lost my job. I've been with the same company for 6 years. 2 promotions. Meanwhile, Richard's had 7 jobs in 4 years. Longest one lasted 3 months. I didn't say all that out loud. Instead, I calmly told her I'd be happy to email copies of rent receipts, bank statements, and a lovely little collection of text messages that paint a very different picture. I also brought up those social media posts he made while I was in the hospital, which, of course, she claimed to know nothing about. The call ended with her saying she needed to talk to Richard and would get back to me. She never called again. Imagine that. Now, since many of you asked, here's how Operation Dumpster actually unfolded. Obviously, with a broken leg, I couldn't do the heavy lifting. But my brother Dylan? Absolute legend. He brought 2 of his buddies on their day off, and yes, I paid them, because unlike some people, I believe in compensating folks for their time and effort. We started with the treasures. His prized 3-monitor gaming setup. That custom-built PC he dropped $2,800 on, while unemployed. All the boxed collectible figures he wouldn't open because they'll be worth more someday. Signed memorabilia that he refused to hang because it didn't match my decor. Decor I paid for. And his beloved craft beer collection. Some bottles were from our first year together. He was aging them, which really just meant forgetting they existed. It took 4 hours. 4 hours of sifting through crusty socks under the couch. Half-eaten chip bags in drawers. Receipts from purchases I never knew about. It felt less like packing and more like a dig through the ruins of a failed civilization, one ruled by a man-child. When Dylan lifted Richard's throne, yes, he called his gaming chair that, and carried it to the dumpster like he was banishing some cursed relic, I nearly clapped. And no, we didn't break anything. We didn't smash his tech or cut his clothes. We just relocated everything to its rightful place. I did keep one box, birth certificate, social security card, a few family photos, and some medical records. Those are with the landlord, who, by the way, is solidly on my side after seeing the posts and hearing what happened. He even helped change the locks. Speaking of the landlord, he said Richard showed up twice yesterday. First time he asked to be let in. Second time he threatened to call the police. Landlord? Perfect. Let's call them together and explain how you haven't paid rent in months. Apparently, Richard vanished before anyone could dial. It's amazing how fast some people scatter when the lights come on. And now, let's talk about that other thing. Remember the job Richard was about to start? The one my professional network helped him land? It was with a financial services firm. He would have been handling client accounts. Let that sink in. The guy who once overdrafted his account buying a video game, and then overdrafted it again the next day buying another one because he forgot about the first. So, yes, I reached out to my friend's brother in HR. All I did was share a few facts, screenshots of Richard's public posts, his rental history, or rather, lack of one, text messages where he joked about working the system. Did I exaggerate? No. Did I lie? Not once. I simply handed them the truth. What they did with it? That was their call. Spoiler. They rescinded the job offer. Now we've reached a new phase. Richard has evolved from angry texts to reflective emails. Long ones. He says he's been thinking, that he realizes he messed up, that Katie meant nothing, that the photos were just for show, that he was scared of losing me after the accident. He says he's ready to change, contribute, commit. He wants to be a real partner now. Apparently, all it took was a near-death experience. Mine. 4 years of free rent, his. Public embarrassment. Total loss of property. A job offer revoked. His own mother finding out the truth. What a bargain price for self-awareness, right? And just when I thought the story was quieting down, I got a message from someone unexpected. Richard's old college roommate, Remy. More on that next. So apparently, Richard's been crashing on his old roommate Remy's couch, alternating between crying and brainstorming a grand gesture to win me back. Remy gave me a heads up, said Richard's been going on and on about proving his love in some symbolic way. I thanked him for the warning and told him to please let me know if Richard starts talking about anything more concerning. Remy agreed and even apologized. Said he never realized just how manipulative Richard could be. And, surprise, surprise, Richard owes him money too. Honestly, who doesn't he owe at this point? Emotionally, I'm exhausted. Physically, still recovering. But weirdly, I feel lighter, like I've been dragging a 100-pound weight around for years, and someone finally unbuckled it from my shoulders. I can breathe. Tomorrow, I've got a follow-up for my leg, and then Anastasia and I are diving into apartment listings. My lease ends in 30 days, and I'm counting the seconds to a clean slate. No Richard, no memories, just fresh air and floors he's never walked on. Thanks for sticking with me through this chaos marathon. I'll update again if anything major happens, especially if Richard goes through with his dramatic comeback plan. Given his track record, it'll either be wildly off base, suspiciously cheap, or somehow make everything about him. Probably all three. Quick edit? Yes, the car was totaled. Insurance is covering it, but the payout's still pending. For now, Anastasia and rideshare apps are getting me through. Edit 2. Some of you were worried about safety. Don't be. My building has cameras and Anastasia's has a doorman. And let's be real. Richard talks big, but folds fast when things get real. He's all drama, no action. Second update? Hello again, my wonderfully savage internet friends. I'm back. And whew, the drama just will not quit. Grab your snacks, refill your mugs, because this tale just took a turn no one saw coming. Let's start with the good news. My follow-up appointment went great. The doctor says my leg is healing better than expected, and I may even ditch this beast of a cast 2 weeks early. My ribs still ache when I laugh, which has been often given the recent events. Let's get into that. So, the grand gesture happened, and it was everything I feared it would be. Awkward, underwhelming, and somehow entirely centered on him. Yesterday afternoon, Anastasia and I were deep in apartment hunting mode when her doorman called up to say I had a delivery. We weren't expecting anything. She went down to grab it since stairs, broken leg, you know the drill, and came back wearing a face I'll never forget. She was holding a compost bin. Yes, a real plastic container filled with soil, worms, and kitchen scraps. Taped to the lid was a handwritten note. Like compost, our love can break down and rebuild into something stronger. I'm decomposing my old self to become the man you deserve. Please give us another chance to grow. I'm not making this up. The compost king actually tried to win me back with rotting vegetables. The confidence, the commitment to the metaphor, the audacity. Anastasia and I laughed so hard I had to double up on painkillers for my ribs. She even took a photo of me beside the bin, completely baffled, and posted it to her Instagram with the caption, "When your BFF's ex thinks worms are the way to a woman's heart." She tagged me. Not him, thank goodness. But wait, it gets better. Inside the compost bin, yes, inside the actual decomposing matter, was a small velvet ring box, covered in dirt. Inside, a ring. Not a diamond? No. It was obviously costume jewelry. The kind you get for $8.99 at a novelty shop. The gold was already fading, and the stone was plastic. And then, engraved inside the band, was a date. 04/22/1, which, for context, is his ex Katie's birthday. He recycled a ring, likely bought for her, shoved it in a compost bin, and thought that was the move. The symbolism is too accurate. I texted him one line. The compost bin is exactly where our relationship belongs, breaking down with the worms and garbage. He replied instantly, said the ring was just a placeholder until he could afford a real one, and that the date was actually the moment he realized he loved me. I didn't answer, but Anastasia? Queen. She walked the bin to the dumpster behind her building, filmed herself dumping the whole thing out, and sent him the video. Now remember how I sent those receipts and financial docs to Richard's mom, Deborah? Well, she finally responded. Her reply was a novel-length email that read like the 5 stages of grief in chronological order. Denial. There must be a mistake. Richard said he was contributing. Anger. So, let's talk about Deborah. After the 5-stage email saga, which ended in a shocking real apology, she followed up with one phone call. Not 43, just one. And what she told me left me speechless. Apparently, Richard had been telling everyone in his family that he was the one supporting me. That I was unstable, couldn't keep a job, and that he was letting me stay in his apartment out of kindness. He said the car that got totaled was his, and that I'd borrowed it, that he had to keep helping me with my spending problem. Meanwhile, he was borrowing money from every relative in sight. Deborah admitted she'd sent him over $155,000 in the last 2 years for emergencies. Money she now realizes was likely never used for what he claimed. She was embarrassed. She apologized again, this time not for me, but for him. And then she said something that genuinely floored me. I love my son, but he needs to face consequences. I won't be bailing him out this time. That, my friends, is growth. Now, some of you asked, what was the other thing you did besides the dumpster and the job? Well, buckle in. Remember how I mentioned the $177,000 in credit card debt I ended up carrying to cover Richard's lifestyle? Turns out, 3 of those cards were opened as joint accounts, with my information, without my permission, to build his credit. Of course, he never made a single payment. I've been working with my bank and a financial advisor to separate my liability and document which charges were his. It's a slow process, but so far, we've confirmed $11,000 directly tied to his purchases. I sent that information not only to his former employer, but also to his family and our mutual friends. Attached was a simple note. If Richard asks to borrow money or stay with you, this is what you can expect. Is that petty? Maybe. Is it true? Absolutely. And truth has a way of clearing out the fog like nothing else. Even Katie, the ex from the party photos, messaged me. She said, I had no idea you were in the hospital. Richard told me you broke up months ago. I'm so sorry. Months ago. We were literally living together until the accident. Turns out he'd been texting her for weeks before the party, telling her we were on a break, and he was ready to move on. She offered to send screenshots. I declined. I didn't need more heartbreak, just closure, and I thanked her for being honest. But wait, there's more. Richard showed up at Anastasia's building again last night. The doorman refused to let him in. So what did he do? Caused a full scene in the lobby. shouting that he just wants to explain. It's all a misunderstanding. He was going to pay me back, and that I was ruining his life. The doorman called the police, but Richard ran before they arrived. Then came 37 missed calls in 2 hours. The voicemails were something. Please talk to me. I can explain. I'm sleeping in my car. I have nowhere else to go. Even my mom won't take me in. I might do something desperate if you don't answer. That last part, that concerned me. I called in a wellness check to Remy's place. He had Richard's most recent address. The police said he was fine. Emotional, but fine. They suggested he seek mental health support. Later, Remy texted me, FYI, Richard's no longer staying here. Found out he stole $200 from my wallet. Changed the locks. Of course, even during a meltdown he can't stop taking. So, where are we now? Richard is couch hopping, with fewer and fewer couches left. His family has backed away. His friends have gone silent. The job is gone. The stuff? Long gone. His image? In pieces. And me? I'm healing. My leg's improving every day. I found a new apartment across town. Cheaper, brighter, and without a trace of him. Anastasia has been my anchor. My family has shown up in ways I'll never forget. My workplace has been supportive and patient with my recovery. I'm still angry. I'm still sad. But mostly, I'm free. It's like I've been underwater for 4 years. And I'm finally breathing again. Final update. Hello for the last time, my internet support squad. It's been 1 month since I shared the first chapter of this journey, and what a month it's been. You've helped me stay grounded, helped me laugh through the worst pain, and reminded me that I'm not alone. I'm choosing to move forward now, to focus on peace, growth, and rebuilding, not rotting compost metaphors. So thank you for every comment, every message, and every reminder that healing is possible. That self-respect is worth fighting for. And that love, the real kind, doesn't make you shrink. It lets you grow. I promised a final update. So here it is. The conclusion to the saga of Richard, the compost king, and how, after 4 years buried in his mess, your girl finally bloomed. Let's start with the practical stuff. I moved. As of yesterday, I'm officially in my new apartment. It's smaller, but it has a little balcony where I've already started a container garden. There's an elevator, which was non-negotiable with my leg, and security cameras which are, well, let's just say appropriate given recent history. Also, the cast is off, 2 weeks ahead of schedule. I'm in a walking boot now, and physical therapy is no joke. I sweat more in PT than I ever did at the gym, but I'm mobile, independent, and every step I take feels like a step back to myself. The car? Insurance finally paid out. I bought a used Ford. It's not fancy, but it's reliable. I named it Freedom. Yeah, it's cheesy. I earned it. Now, for what you really came for, the end of Richard's reign. After my last update, things escalated one final time before they unraveled completely. Once Richard realized his usual tactics, crying, guilt trips, emotional blackmail, weren't working, he pivoted to something new. Public pity. He started a GoFundMe, the title? Homeless After Girlfriend's Revenge. In it, he spun a completely made-up tale about how I stole his money, threw away family heirlooms, and left him destitute after a minor argument. He even included sad photos of himself, clearly taken on Remy's couch before he got kicked out. He asked for $5,000. The campaign lasted 6 hours. Why? Because Anastasia, my brother Dylan, and dozens of mutual friends reported it for fraud. Plus, a few people dropped links to my Reddit posts, which Richard had never seen. That public exposure seemed to trigger something in him. He showed up at my old apartment building. Luckily, I wasn't there. I was still at Anastasia's, but the scene he caused was loud enough that the police were called. He was yelling about lies and defamation and demanding to be let in to retrieve his things. When officers arrived, he tried to convince them he lived there, that I had locked him out illegally. It backfired spectacularly. The landlord confirmed he wasn't on the lease. Richard couldn't produce any ID or mail with that address. Several neighbors confirmed I'd always lived there alone. Then the police ran his ID and found an outstanding warrant for unpaid traffic violations. One $200 worth, dating back over 2 years. He'd been hiding the notices from me. And so, Richard was arrested. Not for the meltdown, but for tickets. The irony. He spent 2 nights in jail. His brother bailed him out, not his mom. And that, according to mutual friends, was his wake-up call. He moved in with his brother, who, to his credit, is making him pay rent, started working at the family company, and, most surprisingly of all, stopped contacting me. Just like that, the daily messages stopped. The 3 a.m. voicemails, the dramatic emails, the compost metaphors, gone. At first, I didn't trust it. I assumed it was just the calm before another storm. But his brother reached out and told me, he's finally listening. He's in therapy. And part of that process is letting you go. And I can live with that. Now, the real update, the one that matters. My mental and emotional state. I've started therapy too. Thank you, workplace insurance. And with that support, I've begun unpacking some truths I hadn't wanted to face. Like how I stayed with Richard not just because I loved him, but because fixing him gave me purpose. How I ignored red flags out of fear of being alone. How I accepted scraps of love because I didn't believe I deserved more. It's been hard. There were sessions where I cried so hard my ribs hurt again. But facing it? That's the first step toward healing it. One last moment of unexpected closure. Richard's mom, Deborah, invited me to lunch. She picked a place with a ramp entrance for my leg. A level of thoughtfulness Richard never showed. And she was different. She apologized, again, and admitted that she had raised a son who thought emotional manipulation and financial dependence were acceptable. She told me something I'll never forget. His father was the same, and I'm afraid I let him think that was normal. I found myself comforting her, and strangely, it helped. It felt like letting go of something I didn't even realize I was still holding. At the end of our lunch, she handed me an envelope. Inside, $2,000 in cash. This doesn't cover what he owes, she said. But it's what I can do, not for him, for you, because I failed you too. I tried to refuse. She insisted. I used that money to furnish my new place, a home that's mine. No remnants of Richard, no ghosts, just me, my plants, and peace. So that's it. Thank you, internet strangers, for being the chorus in the background of this messy, dramatic, wildly healing story. Your advice, your kindness, and even your tough love helped keep me upright when I was tempted to fold. You reminded me I deserved better. And now, finally, I believe it.